Free Energy Now.
Imagine a world in which each home has its own power generator that obtains its energy in such a way that no fuel has to be added. Imagine every vehicle being able to run without ever stopping for fuel. Imagine each appliance having its own power source that never has to be recharged. That is the world of the future. Join with us now as we track our progress towards such a world.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Sterling Allen. You can join us online at freeenergynow.net, where you can find a list of past guests, download those interviews, and read the stories associated with those appearances. We're joined today, February 3rd, 2014, by Alan or Al Frankor of Magnetic Energy Systems in British Columbia, Canada. He phoned me to talk about some of the recent developments he's been involved with, and I asked if I could call him back so we could record the call, and he agreed. He then told me about how recently his LinkedIn profile has been getting a lot of attention. Visits by thousands and growing by university CEOs, engineers. It's gone viral, he said. There's a reason, he added. So here's Alan.
I won't say everything, but I'll say some things that it's pretty interesting. And,
okay.
All right. I like to observe nature, as you know. Check out the website when you have the time. What I say on there is the real deal.
Remind me what the website is.
The LinkedIn. It's my profile on the LinkedIn website.
Okay.
Magnetic Energy Systems is my name. It's a proprietor. I'm not incorporated or anything right now. You know, later on. Right now the technology is the most important thing right now at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to singularity, the rediscovery. And I say rediscovery because obviously there must have been people who've known somewhere, and somewhere in the past, maybe the ancients knew galactic formations in singularity. I am convinced, without a doubt whatsoever, that there are giant bowl-shaped vortices that resembles something going down Texas, the tornado, above and below galactic formations that manifest during the clouding of the when all the matter in space produces arcs of lightning. You say galactic lightning, if you will. Something what you'll see in a volcanic eruption and the ash and plume coming out. You'll see lightning bolts taking place. That happening in the outer space sets up magnetic fields, which cause a singularity event to take place, the formation of two counter-rotating magnetic fields like a mirror image of each other, opposite polarities, and they cause that spin. And that spin causes the singularity event to take place, and that causes it to nebula, the formation of galaxies. And that makes gravity. Gravity exists, and that's what makes us exist, the Earth, the planets, okay? The equator is the neutral zone, if you will, of the two opposite polarities above and below the equator. This links electricity, magnetism, and gravity in a new unified theory. That's what's coming.
Okay.
There's a misconception into the model of magnetic fields that most people are unaware of. And they're winding coils wrong. That leads to increased impedance, resistance, Ohm's law. It all increases as a result of the incorrect model of the true natural shape of magnetism, which more resembles probably that of an hourglass. And the orbitals are in different directions compared to what people might think. So when they miswind coils against the orbitals, you're going to get impedance because you're working against the flow of the magnetic field during the point when it rises from zero to maximum flux density. That's when it happens. The right-hand rule is a key factor. Things have to be wound in such a way so that you synchronize the windings with the orbitals on both polarities of the magnetic field so that the energies will form their standing wave effect. Maximum energy comes out of the coil with minimal losses. Produces the longitudinal impulse which leads to radiant energy, singularity, when you orient the things in such a way as nature does in galactic formations, linking gravity to electricity magnetism. This is going to lead to electrogravity devices. Just like Back to the Future, the Jetsons cartoon when we were kids growing up. Um, the power supply, I got it running. The old power supply, the EMA power supply, got it running. But there's a fault in the secondary output coil. It's leaking. The windings have to be redone. They've been shifted throughout the 35 years of somewhere being handled in the past, where the windings come together and they're closer than the spark gap itself, so they internally arced. The insulation broke down, so I have to redo those windings on the secondary output coil. But the oscillator, all the parts so far, everything's working. And after 35 years of being dormant, Richard Hackenberg's the inventor of it. This is it's a very, very interesting power supply. Okay.
So what are we going to expect in terms of people building things and producing practical devices with this?
That's just what I'm working on, Sterling. I really, really am. I'm right here. I'm working on 3 more units like it. I've got a lot of the components already to reproduce the same thing. And then from there, we're going to deviate 2 experiments with it. So I keep the original one intact. It took a lot of work, by the way, to get it run. And a lot of parts came off, and a lot of brand new equivalent brand new components had to be replaced during the process of reviving this thing and re-engineering it, or reverse engineering it, if I will. Figured it out, and the science is linked to what's going on in nature. It's a magnifying transmitter, ×2 mirror image. Look it up, Nikola Tesla. It's a method of non-apparatus of signaling, another patent. These concepts are valid. The ether. Tesla was right. People have a misconception of the magnetic fields and the shapes and the direction of the orbitals, and that leads to the increased impedance, because it's like, look at it this way. If you and I were to go fishing with our fishing rods, let's go fishing up the river, okay? But we only got a paddle. We don't have any motors. So you and I got a paddle. We're going up the creek because there's a nice fishing spot, say, a mile up the creek. Just as a hypothetical scenario, can I use that comparison, right?
Sure.
So by the time you and I get there, our arms are going to be sore because we're just, holy crap, we're working, getting up the creek. We got that resistance of the working against us. Turn around 180 degrees. Now you're flowing down river.
Right.
Right. Now we got free energy pushing us along. We hardly have to move our arms at all. We just steer it, and we'll get there. We could capture that energy.
You're going away from your destination rather than towards.
We might have a better fishing spot, but the point is we're still moving energy. The fishing was just a directional thing. Magnetic field, we're just changing the direction now. I'm comparing that to what happens in the magnetic field. Mm-hmm. When we wind coils against the flow of the orbitals when the B field is changing, when the flux is varying its density. Consider the right-hand rule. Everything has an orbital in a certain direction. Everything has to be wound according to the direction. When things are wound against that direction, of course you're going to get increased friction because you're working against the flow. It's like trying to swim up the creek. You're going to, you got that impedance against you all the time, unless you do something different. So this is what leads to such increased efficiency, things running more ambient from reduction of internal heat as a result of the reverse magnetic fields that are working against. They call it back EMF. Well, that's an EMF force coming at you, not working with you.
Are people involved in the electric universe paradigm talking to you? Is this tying to that?
It's a very interesting you mentioned that. You look at my LinkedIn site.
I haven't yet.
Please do. There's a photograph on there called Aerial Phenomena. Okay? Have a look at that. That is a cropped version of the original. You can blow it up a little better. We cropped it so it fits the picture better. I have the original one here. It's much larger. The picture's bigger. That picture has an unidentified object that we photographed on our property. 3 witnesses, eyewitnesses, myself, my wife, and my daughter. Something happened that night. We captured it on film. If you look at the geometry of what happened in that, hieroglyphic writing, Egyptian writing, hieroglyphic writing, Crop circles have hieroglyphic writing in them. You know, real ones. I'm not talking about ones that have been faked. Okay? Ones that are genuine is what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
They're, you know, messages are in there. This thing zigged around in the sky repeatedly for many minutes. Jan, my wife, took multiple photographs of it. 2 of them turned up very clear. But one of them I posted. The other one of them is still here just before it disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing, incredible. This thing made maneuvers unbelievable. It came right in from outer space. It left a ionized plasma trail, and I describe it as that because I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it changes colors depending on how it moved, 180 degree. It had a similar sort of pattern to it. It came to a dot, made a big green large dot. That told me a lot. A dot. Okay, a dot. And a 180 degree turn. It corkscrewed, 3-dimensional corkscrew in the atmosphere. Came down and did a wild move to make a large letter X resembling the vertex. I instantly interpret that as the vertex. The vortex is a 3-dimensional magnetic field. 3-dimensional magnetics versus 2-dimensional magnetics. Everybody's, or I should say most people seem to be dealing with 2-dimensional magnetics, and there's the link they're missing. They're missing the orbital out of the coils. Of course you're not going to capture that energy because you're not even orbiting it in the machine that they're operating. They're not capturing it. It's just whipping by. There's nothing to harness it because they got nothing wound in their machine to harness it. So it's in virtual space, if you will. This thing corkscrewed in the atmosphere, 3-dimensional. To me, that resembles 3-dimensional magnetic fields. At the vertex, 2 of them, mirror image, placed, opposite, rotate in the same direction, opposite polarity, produces a nebula in the zone in between, the neutral zone in between, where gravity manifests. There's our link to gravity, electricity, and magnetism. We have a new unified field theory. And I'm also kind of speculating, postulating, running the idea, I'm kicking the idea in my head like a football, if you will, of maybe the expansion of the universe is the counter-opposite to gravity itself. They coexist, and that's why we call it anti-gravity. Maybe it's the process of the expansion once we set up the fields, just like in galaxies, why they repel. If the galaxies flip upside down in relation to the other, they can crash and collide. Because now the fields attract, because they got magnetic charges above and below, 3-dimensional bowl-shaped vortice fields that allow the galaxies to nebula to create the gravitational effect that pulls in the matter all around in space. It vacuums as it goes. Maybe when the magnetic field collapses after how many billions of light years, so to speak, that's when it goes supernova. Because then the gravitational field vanishes. Boom. Then become dwarf or asteroids or some other, because they lose their magnetic fields. They don't orient the same. They don't orbit the same. They change. You know, it leads to a lot of wild theories and hypotheses now, and a whole new range of thinking. Mm-hmm. And this leads to anti-gravity in a much more profound way, and mimicking what is done in nature. That object in the photograph is singularity. The singularity represents the dot, the large green dot, and the vertex is you see the white smudge in the middle. That's the location of the dot. That's the singularity event. And opposite is the 2 counter vortice-shaped 3-dimensional rotary magnetic fields that sets up the nebula that makes singularity possible. The link between the electricity, gravity, and magnetism.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. So all those people that you hear rumors about on all those websites who think I'm a nuthead, it's all